Welcome to a special edition of your favorite current affairs show, The Point of View, on Channel 1 television. Today is our 7th anniversary. We're also commemorating a grim anniversary because 10 years ago, yesterday, Ghana lost over 150 people in a conflagration of fire and water, the infamous June 3 disaster. Today we speak to 5 people from different angles, reflecting on the sad things that happened on that day, whether we've picked any lessons at all, and more importantly, what can we do never to repeat the misery that was caused by the June 3 disaster. It's going to be an interesting show. Stay with us. We'll tell you more about who we have when I return.
In a wide position, so what's next?
Ronaldo. Could be. There's still danger here.
Goal! In 1924, my grandpa was a champion. 2024, Meso is a champion.
Hey, digital champion. It's about the end.
Digital champion, who can't TV shop online?
Let me help you get what you need from Enterprise now.
It's this simple. I just log into my Enterprise account using the Enterprise Self-Service Portal. Then, I just click on this button for their new Advantage Point Loyalty Scheme. Then, boom, the fun begins. Wow. Yes, once I start making purchases under any subsidiary, I can now earn a lot of points and redeem it as airtime, Momo, and more.
Hey, customers only.
Even on your birthday.
You earn points.
Yes, even when you like and share on the portal.
You earn points.
Yes.
Purchase an Enterprise policy today to enjoy this exclusive offer and start earning rewards. Because nothing you do should be pointless.
Oh, then redeem Momo with your points and send to me.
Hey, Mr. Digital Champion.
Enterprise, your advantage.
Welcome back. So tonight we're reflecting on June 3. We have a documentary we put together that will show you fully after this conversation. But we do know that extensive hours of rain led to flooding in many parts of the country, particularly in the Greater Accra region, where places as far as Oyarifa, Adringano, Adenta all got flooded. The matter got quite serious in Accra, where the Nkrumah Circle became the epicenter of the flooding. This coincided with the construction of what is now known as the Circle Dubai. Scores of people escaping the rain gathered at the Nkrumah Circle Goil Station to seek shelter, to wait for the waters to recede and continue their journeys home. We're told that gas or some explosion triggered possibly by a fuel tank that was underground led to 2 big explosions. A number of people burnt, some charred beyond recognition, not just at the Goil Station, but in structures adjacent to that area. The president at the time, John Mahama, said we should work as a country for such a tragedy never to occur. Well, it's been 10 years since it happened. We're asking ourselves, what have we done to ensure that a disaster like that never happens? We're in the rainy season, and indeed this past week it's rained a lot. I've brought 5 different people together to bring 5 angles to a discussion. 2 of them are in the studio with me, 3 are joining us virtually. I have an environmental scientist who's been talking about the built environment, our behavior, and why we need to up our game on these matters. Professor Chris Gordon is in studio. Prof, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. We also have the head of plan preparation at the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, also known as LUSPA, Dr. Benedict Arkhurst. He's also joined us in the studio. Doc, welcome. We will be joined by a number of people digitally. The immediate past Greater Accra Regional Minister, who has also served as Minister for Interior and Deputy Minister for National Security, Henry Quartey, is joining us virtually. Honorable Henry Quartey, thanks for joining us. Good evening.
Good evening, Bernard, and thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. We'll be joined also by the Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, an architect by training, a built environment practitioner, Giselle Tete Agbutui, who's joining us virtually as well. Later on, Samson Ladia Yenini, a legal practitioner and a journalist, and part of the One Ghana movement, who have instituted a class action against certain organs of the state to get justice for the June 3 victims. He would also join us to share his views. Let me start the first round by asking each panelist to tell us briefly what they recollect of the day, and also if they have any commiserations to share. I'll start, Professor Gordon. I remember where I was. I was driving home with my colleague at the time, Kojo Akoto Boateng, and my colleague Richard Mensah, who was producing Eyewitness News, got to the scene and started reporting that there was chaos there. It was a night I'll never forget. I don't know what you recollect of the June 3 disaster.
Well, my personal recollection was this was a tragedy. A tragedy that could have been avoided. When the numbers of people who had perished started to be reported, I found it so unbelievable. It was like the stadium disaster in terms of its magnitude. Again, something that could have been avoided. Death by fire or drowning is nothing to be wished for on anybody. But then you remember that so many people were maimed, were burnt, third-degree burns over maybe 70% of their body, scarred for life. I think when it was 5 years, we had a meeting on site, and we interacted with some of the people and saw how their lives had been turned upside down by this terrible, terrible disaster. As you said, it was a result of a combination of factors which came to become a perfect storm. And each one of these by themselves would have been a terrible tragedy, but having them all together was really something that you cannot forget. Yeah.
Dr. Akhurst, did the LUSPA exist 10 years ago in the form in which it is, and what's your recollection of the June 3 disaster?
Yes, so LUSPA has existed almost for about 40, 50 years now.
Okay.
The then Town and Country Planning Department, which is now known as the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, was birthed by the CAP 84 during the British colonial era. And at that time, from 1948 to 2016, the government realized that the planning system was centralized, and because of its centrality, it didn't actually, the system did not actually respond to the change. Right from there were conversation about does town and country planning actually exist? Whenever it floods, people now start castigating, and also
they start seeing the value of planning.
Yes,
and they start asking whether you guys have done your work.
And in this case, I was studying spatial plan where focused on sustainable cities. So it was like a slap in the face.
Wow.
So what is happening? Yeah. So I remember a lot of things started. So I started calling some of the professionals to ask what is happening, and some were trying to give me the story. So I really had to commiserate with what was happening, and also try to urge my professionals in the built environment to try to come together to see what are the causes of the floods and also what can be done. Yeah, so it was a disaster that we all thought that in going forward, such a thing shouldn't happen again. But 10 years on, we are going to discuss
we'll get into
lessons.
that.
Yeah.
Good. Let me come to Mr. Korte. So, Mr. Korte, were you in Parliament in 10 years ago, June 3, because you were not in government? So, and what is your recollection of June 3, 2015?
Well, thank you very much, Bernard. And first of all, allow me to say a big hello to all the members of the panel, especially with the greatest of respect, without being biased, to my colleague, Honorable Deputy Minister. Well, again, I will start by sending my condolences to families of the victims. 10 years ago, with the greatest of respect, it was a very horrible incident. When I was 2 years into being a member of parliament for Ayawaso Central, because I became a member of parliament in 2013.
Okay.
And where the incident happened is an adjoining constituency to mine.
Okay.
And that is, we call it Kole Klote. They always tell it actually whether it's Kole Klote or Klote Kole. I was then at Nima, visiting then the flag bearer, now the ex-president of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when the call came through. So we rushed there. And then you'd wish that you never saw a scene like that, because people were floating in the water as if you've gone to seaside to look at fishes or fish. At some stage, I was there. I mean, when they had to be packed into Kia trucks, like the way rice is packed, is unbelievable. And I just have to say to the families of the victims that once again, although it's been 10 years, may this discussion not arouse their emotions as we do this. But I feel a bit, I've been talking about it now, but then it's happened. We have to move on years down the line, yeah. But it was a very horrible incident that I was there. I witnessed everything. I mean, people were trying to rescue people, and they were floating dead bodies here and there. Some even, I don't know, were washed away all the way to my constituency around Paloma. There's a huge storm drain there between Paloma and the petrol station. Yes, well, as I said, have we learned our lessons? What might have caused it? I heard the land use and spatial planning officer talked about LUSPA. The question here is that do we have a standard practice or plans in this country? I don't know. Does LUSPA exist on paper? I don't know. Are they allowed to, as it were, ensure and enforce what the job functions are for LUSPA? And again, you ask yourself, in the manifesto for political parties, there are certain things that cannot be government go, government come. That is why I thought that we would take a critical look at the National Development Planning Authority or agency, so that on the issues of planning, sanitation, it cannot be government go, government comes. So Henry Quartek comes as a regional minister, he does something. And then another regional minister comes, he also chooses to do something else. I don't think that we're going to make progress. But as you said, it's an intro. So I'll pause here and then as we progress.
All right. I will do another round with those inside before I go to the deputy minister. So what do you think was the cause? When 10 people cannot see touch an elephant, they all say it's a different thing. So I've deliberately selected people from different areas of specialization. I call you an environmentalist, an environmental scientist though. So if I were to press you to say what are the top 2 reasons why what happened, what would you say?
I actually would say it's a combination of indiscipline and climate change.
Indiscipline and climate change.
Coupled with a lack of standards.
Indiscipline, climate change, coupled with lack of standards.
Yep.
That's the angle you will use.
Yep.
Before you elaborate, what would you say was the cause?
Okay, I would also say that it is as a result of lack of proper development control.
Lack of proper development control.
Yes, by the planning authorities. For the plans, sometimes when
we are not elaborating now. We just I just want bullet points. Indiscipline, climate change, and what was the third one?
Lack of standards.
Lack of standards. And you are saying lack of proper
development control.
Development control. Is that the only thing? What else would you say it was?
Okay, then I'll also say the non-implementation of the spatial plans.
You like sentences, so non-implementation of the spatial plans and lack of development control, because that's your training. Ata Henry, if I were to get just 2 bullet points, what do you think is the cause, without elaborating, just 2 big words or 2 big phrases, what would you say the causes are?
Well, my colleagues on the panel have given about 6 reasons, and I'll summarize the 6 into 2. One is indiscipline, as a professor said, and then the other one is when you add the lack of planning, standards, and things, it's politics. And Bernard, that's a fact. Today, let's speak like statesmen. We shouldn't add, it is politics. The man at the land use and spatial planning knows what to do, but the politician thinks, no, if you do this, I will not win elections. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. That's what it is.
Then maybe the word will be...
These are my 2.
So then maybe I'll help you. So I'll say indiscipline and bad political leadership. Because if he knows what to do...
I wouldn't say bad political leadership, but...
or poor governance.
Okay, so political decisions that one has to make. But it doesn't mean it's bad leadership.
Well, okay, let me help you. Indiscipline and bad governance. Is that better?
No, that is even worse.
No, but if a leader can, if he knows what to do, and yet for political expediency, his political head will not allow him to do it, that's bad governance, is it not? That's bad political governance.
That choice of word is too strong for me.
Because you're a politician?
Not that. Today I want to speak like a...
I know, because if this were something happening in my company and my planning officer says we need to drain the whatever, we need to do a storm drain, the MD will say definitely let's do it, because there's no election. So we're saying that he's unable to do what he's supposed to do because somebody who fortunes depends on an election does not think he needs to do it now. So it's decision making and leadership. So yes, the indiscipline may have caused it. The planning has identified what to do, but the duty bearer does not want to do it because he's elevating a political consequence higher than the disaster. That's, if you are to call a spade, then I would say that's what it is.
So you've helped me twice. Maybe I can also help you. We can say timely political decisions and interventions.
Timely
political decisions,
okay,
and interventions, yes.
All right. I don't want us to go too far if I bring that, but I want elaboration. So, Prof, you say it's indiscipline and climate change.
And lack of standards.
Explain the climate change to me. I understand indiscipline. So explain climate change in this context.
Well, I think I need to expand on the discipline as well. But
okay,
let me start with the climate change.
Go.
The fact is that the way rain falls nowadays is different from the way it used to fall.
Okay.
We have what are called extreme events. Mm-hmm. And one of these extreme events, apart from heat wave, is unprecedented rainfall. So the fact is the amount of rain that fell in that period was far in excess of what a planner would have expected. We had 1 in 1,000 year rainfall that day because there's a probability of how much rain. If you design for the 1 in 1,000 year event, everything becomes so expensive. So normally they design for the 1 in 50 year or 1 in 100 year event.
Okay.
But what happened that day was totally unprecedented in the amount of rain that fell in that short time. So that's the climate change angle that I'll go on.
Okay.
Should I continue with the indiscipline?
I like that. Go to indiscipline.
The indiscipline is indiscipline across board. Because a major cause of the flooding was the choked nature of the gutters, the choked nature of the colley that was going to receive the waters, caused by people throwing garbage and litter indiscriminately over a long period of time. So that was the other angle. This is, we say that, yes, it is the politicians, the decision makers, but I believe it is everybody. The indiscipline in the way the tanks at the filling station were sealed. You know, you talked about the 2 explosions, but the fact is that petrol is lighter than water. So once the water entered into the fuel tank, that means it's going to displace the water and the fuel comes up. And it was not gas, it was the vapor, the petrol vapor which ignited. So you have a situation where you have the water, you have the petrol floating on the water, and above the petrol, you have the petrol vapor which was igniting and spreading at an alarming rate. It's like as if they're using napalm as they use in war. That's why the place looked like a war zone.
Wow.
And you just need a little spark. But the indiscipline is, I see people smoking at filling stations. I see people using mobile phone at filling stations, even now. So the issue, let me just land on the lack of standards.
Wow.
You see, we have standards for everything. There's a standard for how filling stations should be built. There's a standard of where they should be located. We have a standard for the size of drains we have to use. We have a standard for how often a place should be dredged. None of these were being implemented.
Wow.
None of them were being implemented. Do we see in other countries when there's rain falling heavily, people gather at filling stations?
No.
No, you don't. And why? And Bernard, let me bring this up now. I see a very unhealthy siting of churches right beside filling stations.
So mass gathering next to
a filling station.
Because the filling stations have become like amenities for, I don't know.
Yeah, so you find that very close, there'll be shops, then upstairs
there's a church.
There's a church. So even to evacuate, you see the size of the stairs? Won't there be a stampede? And it's being repeated.
Let you elaborate on the 2 things you said. So climate change, indiscipline, and lack of standards, nicely articulated by Professor Chris Gordon. We are still talking June 3. We're showing some footage from there. Sorry about the emotion, because it's really, everybody remembers. You said lack of proper development control and lack of enforcement.
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate on development control from because your perspective?
Yeah, so for the development control, as a professor said, we have the spatial plans which are supposed to be implemented.
Yeah.
And you know, the implementation is a collective responsibility of all the built environment professionals and primarily also the planning authority.
Yeah.
So we've designed plans, we've earmarked that these areas are waterways, floodplains, we've leave those areas as greenery, and people now develop in those spaces. And the district assemblies who are supposed to do development control, that is demolish those structures. They shouldn't even allow those structures to even come up in the first place. But when you go there, they will be telling you about lack of logistics, and also there's the issue about political will, because you cannot just get up and go and do demolition of people or developments within the waterway. The political head of the planning authority must take responsibility to be able to do that. So sometimes people say that there is lack of proper planning in Accra. So I asked them, is it that the planners who did the plans did not do the plan well, or the plans are there but they are not being implemented?
So the is not lack of planning, proper planning.
Yes.
It's lack of following the plan.
Exactly. It is the implementation of those plans. We have several plans that has been prepared.
Okay.
But as a planner or as a planning specialist, the implementation, even though I play a part, it doesn't entirely rest on me.
Okay.
Because it's a collective responsibility for everybody, including the governments, which we are working for.
So that's point number 1. Second point.
Then the second point is also about enforcement. Yes.
So it's linked.
Yes, so it's linked. So planning is not a problem, but the enforcement.
Okay.
And the enforcement, there are several angles to the enforcement. Logistics-wise, we also have when you go to some of the assemblies, in terms of personnel, they don't have the requisite personnel to be able to do the development controls. You have an area. One time I went out for an inspection with a planning officer, and looking at the expanse of the district, they have only 2 building inspectors. And if you look at the extent of developments that were springing up, they all did not have any permits. So I told him that the work is very difficult because if you don't have officers or personnel to do development control, people will now start building on waterways, floodable areas, and the people have that notion that once the structure comes to a lintel level, it's difficult. Yes. So it's a combination of those two factors.
Good.
Yes.
Let me talk to the Deputy Minister, and Honorable Henry, just stay on because I want to. I've pulled there from Parliament. Madame Giselle Tete Abutui, I hope I got the flow right. Good.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us. I started by asking my panelists to give me a brief recollection of June 3, 2015, where they were, what they remember of it, before we go into what they believe is the cause. Do you have any recollection at all of that day, where you were and how you processed it?
Thank you very much. I think I was at home because, yes, those heavy rains, as much as possible, when we want to be in a place of safety, unless you don't know that maybe this is what the weather was going to turn out to. But I think it was a very sad day for everybody. And yesterday, on the floor of Parliament, Honorable Zanato made a statement to that effect. You know, I think that area is in a constituency, and she literally just reminded everybody of it. It was quite emotional. But moving forward, June 3rd and other significant days of natural disasters that will happen in Ghana, I hope that we do learn the lessons from them. Sometimes we tend to we'll talk about the issue for some days, you know, and then after some time we kind of just push it aside and move on to other trending topics. This was not it was like hell came down to earth, if I remember.
As a built environment professional who's now in politics, professionally, what do you think was the number 1 or 2 reasons why this happened?
I think it's a combination of factors. Placing of certain facilities in certain locations. Much as we take certain things for granted, which we tend to do here in Ghana, there's just that one day that maybe things may not turn out well. This filling station, if I recall, had been at that particular location for a very long time. Maybe it wasn't as built up, the area wasn't as built up as it was at the time that the filling station was located. And it makes sense to have it in such an area also because of it is right by the roadside. And I think the demand for fuel products is also filling stations tend to be sited by such major such roads anyway. But I think it's a number of factors. So one, the location of certain facilities at certain areas. Now we see it even more. The filling stations in almost every corner. And I think that the land use planning have a bit more, they have to be able to more or less justify why these should be in certain areas. On the other hand, if you have a filling station which is in an isolated area, even the filling station owners and attendants may even be afraid of even running the business there for safety and security reasons. But let's move forward on that. Land sales. Land sales. Now, this disaster was a combination of flooding and fire. Fire are attributed to health and safety issues, which we can also talk about a bit, because naturally it's a filling station which must uphold the higher standards of safety. You know, let me just digress a little. I worry when premixed fuel is not available for fishermen, and they go and buy petrol, carry it in 4 gallons, and then go and do their own chemical mix for the sea, to take to sea. But that's another matter. It's just been a disaster waiting to happen. But generally, health and safety issues on filling stations, I think, have to be strengthened and tightened. And that's just how it is, and how our development has gone, such that, yes, filling stations tend to be sited in They can be sited in commercial areas, but you can't also say that they are not going to be in certain areas that are in proximity to where people need kerosene and they need fuel and they need petrol and they need diesel and other maybe consumable services that tend to be needed. Now that's the safety part, and then the second part is about location and choice of facilities and building of facilities in certain locations. So, for example, those who sell lands, if you know the land you are selling is an area liable to flood, why do you sell? And why are they also allowed to sell? It may be landowners, it may be families, it may be chiefs. Why are they allowed to sell areas or lands that they know are liable to flood? Who controls that at that point of interaction? Then somebody builds, and then the assembly will say they don't have enough staff, they don't have enough inspectors, they don't have enough this or that. In the first place, why are they even allowed to even process their papers when maybe the land where they have bought is an area liable to flood? When I saw the demolition at the Ramsey site, it just how can somebody build up to first floor, second floor, and third floor and see nothing wrong with it, and don't see anything, don't even suspect that there could be something wrong with the location in which they are building? If they Google and research on Ramsey sites, these are areas that are they are held as natural. They are natural areas that are also are supposed to be reserved, even just to hold water and all that. And Accra needs those areas badly because Accra is low lying. So Accra being low lying needs those areas to be able to at least hold the water in certain areas at some point. So when we now fill the Ramsey site and they are filling the edges and they keep on and those who are selling their lands filling the edges around, what do you expect? At some point, water will find its level and water needs to be filled, needs to be somewhere. So at some point, I also blame the assemblies. And then the people who also have also bought the land, spend their money. Your house is often your biggest investment in life. You must know what exactly you are buying. Then assemblies do not have the right permit regime. And I'm thinking that actually district assemblies should even now be validating people's permits. It can be a whole exercise altogether, because if there's land in somebody starts to build in a waterway, who allowed the person to build in the waterway? Assemblies should have their master plans and know that these areas are not allowed for building. And there should be that collaboration between landowners and the planners and the assemblies and the surveyors, because very often somebody has land. He said, I have 100 acres. Oh, I'm going to get a surveyor. The surveyor will do the layout for me. The surveyor just looks at the paper. He may not look at things in 2D or 3D. He may not only look at things in 2D, but maybe he should also look at things in 3D. And so you see that maybe he's not taking cognizance of, are there some natural streams there? Are there some low-lying areas? Are there this? Are there that? So I think that generally there's a whole long list of responsibility, and you can't put it on the last person along the chain either, the value chain. It is from point to point to point to point, and everybody must take their responsibility.
Okay.
Their share of the responsibility.
I want you to stay on for me. I want to speak to Mr. Henry Quartey, because as former regional minister, he obviously understands how local assemblies work. When I go to the Regional Coordinating Council, they have a big hall where sometimes he summons all the assembly people, and you can tell that this is like a meeting of people reporting to their boss. So Honorable Henry Quartey, a lot of the panelists have said enforcement is the problem the assemblies need to start. What is your experience as a former regional minister on how assemblies work and why they've not been able to enforce the plans he prepares and ensure health and safety that we all know is sensible? What is the issue with the assemblies?
So, Bernard, thank you very much. You remember that I summarized all the interventions they made into two. One being the indiscipline, and the other being timely political interventions and decisions. And I still stand by it. If you listen to all the things they've said, it comes to the two things I've talked about. We have a situation here, especially in Accra, being a cosmopolitan region, where migration is very high on a daily basis. Everybody believes that when they come to Accra, they can make ends meet. Well, you cannot stop that. But the planning authorities have got all these plans from many, many years ago. And the assemblies continue to pass bylaws every now and then. There have been many regional ministers, many regional coordinating directors, and of course, metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives. But the question that arises is, apart from the attitudinal, behavioral issues that we have to deal with as a country, you need a national development plan. Rather, if we don't do this, we'll be having this conversation almost every 10 years and we'll be standing at the same place. When you have a national development plan that says that, okay, this area has been reserved for A, B, C, D. Government go, government come. Nobody should touch it. Now, I listened to my able professor when he talked about rains that I think that day was 1 in 1,000. Perhaps there has been several rains. Maybe the quantum of that rain may have been even heavier than June 3rd. But during the time that he is talking about, you didn't have Avino, for instance, where people have built kiosks all over the place. Jowulu used to be Jowulu. If you listen to the name in Ghana, it's Jowulu. It's like a valley. Today, the whole place has been built up. How many greens do we even have in Accra? So when the rain falls all the way from Obri, goes through Onyasia and all that, there is no escape route for the rains. And the discipline is here, as we talked about. We have people who have built kiosks and whatever by the drains. And what do? They dump refuse, all manner of things, right from back of President Kufuor's place all the way to the Korle Lagoon and then into the sea. Now that brings me to the exercise. I'll come to your question. The exercise that I did on 1st July 2001, I remember very well. 2021, sorry. I had a serious backlash when I was doing this because some members of my political party told me, Henry, what you're going to do will lose votes. And some NDCs also felt that, because Henry has come to power, Akufo-Addo is in power, and MPP is in power, they want to sack us because we are NDC. But I still thank the president then for giving me the support that I needed then, and I was able to conduct that exercise. Now, if you play most of the tapes, the interviews that I granted, I did say, and now that we have done this, the authorities will be able to dredge the Korle Lagoon to Odo, and then there will be free flow of water into the sea. Indeed, ever since we did that, there has been several downpours, but it wasn't like what happened just about 3 weeks ago. We almost had a June 3rd disaster again, because what? NDC comes to power, and like I said, there's no national development plan. Everybody thinks that, Henry Potter is gone, NPP is gone. Let's go back to Agbogblochi, reoccupy the place, and there we are. And I'm saying that if action is not taken on these things, you are likely to have a major incident again like June 3rd, because they've gone back to Agbogblochi. They have started feeling the Korle again. They've gone back to Odo. They have started throwing the rubbish into it. But then comes the political will to do things, as I talked about. If you recall, there was a serious explosion at Atomic Junction. You remember that one?
Yes.
Very huge one. Today, go back to that same spot. It has been sold and developed. And the petrol stations are still surrounding it. Why couldn't we reserve that place? When you go to America, the 9/11 incident, they didn't rebuild the place again. It's become like a tourist center for people to go and see what happened there. But today you go to Atomic Junction, it's been built up. And I'm saying that definitely the planning officer may have raised an objection to say A, B, C, D.
Okay.
But is the politician going to listen to it? No. Now the question that you asked, the Regional Coordinating Council is to coordinate, monitor, supervise the implementation of government policies. That's why it's called the Coordinating Council. We have the Chief Director, who is in charge of all the coordinating directors in Accra. In Greater Accra, for instance, we have 29 MMDAs. Now, each of them have got almost all the government agencies under it. You have the coordinating director, you have somebody from planning, all of them. If they are allowed to do their job properly, and there is proper supervision, my brother, I think we will have a city that has some discipline in it, that will not be, politicians will not interfere. But as it stands now, I fear that in the next 5 years, Accra will be a very difficult place for you and I to stay in or to live in. Why am I saying this? If you recall, as a regional minister, I put in place a lot of interventions. And then I had people asking so many questions. Today, all the things that I did is going to cost 90. People have gone to Aboglution. You have Abubuya on the streets everywhere, on the motorways. Accidents are happening left, right, and center. Now you go to Lands Commission. One land has been sold to about 8-10 different people. And there are planning officers who will go there and they do a site plan for you. They won't tell you that you cannot build there. Buildings are coming up. And so these are some of the challenges we have.
Let me take a breather. I'll come back to you. Let me take a breather. We're discussing June 3, hoping to learn the lessons. I've spent a lot of time talking about what's happened. I want to go into what we should do in terms of correcting the wrong and ensuring that we don't repeat this. So when I come back, I'll speak to a lawyer, Samson Ladi, on a lawsuit they've put in place to help the victims. Then I'll reverse the order. I'll speak to the Deputy Minister because I know she has to go back. And then I'll come back to the in-studio panels. This is the point of view. Don't go away.
Do you want a healthy smile?
Are you dreaming of a beautiful and brighter smile? A professional teeth whitening service can make that dream a reality. Hi, I'm Tanya from Bethel Dental Clinic, Ghana. Zoom Professional Whitening Treatment is safe and effective and can brighten your smile up to 7 shades. Here are the steps for professional whitening. First, the gums are protected by applying a barrier. Then, the whitening gel is applied to the teeth. After that, a light is applied for about 15 to 20 minutes to enhance the whitening process. This application is applied 2 to 4 times to get you a brighter smile in just one appointment. Yes, in just one appointment, you get a brighter smile. Please be aware that a checkup and a professional cleaning prior to dental office whitening are a must.
Remember who we are seeing now. At risk of prostate enlargement. We a member or her 20 ebitimi prostate cancer, 5 bitimi afamu nadia obefamu.
Actually, this is not my fault.
And to wada, entina medi mani Executive Prostate Center.
Executive Prostate Center is a unique medical center where we harmonize in-depth traditional medicine with cutting-edge science and technology to cure, to treat, and to prevent diseases like prostate enlargement, prostate cancer.
Executive Prostate Center. Madame facilities no any professional medical care.
Sisi a bibia clear our system no. Ye no ne so de natural. Into we koso afama ye.
Executive Prostate Center. My cured.
The point of view tonight is remembering June 3. We have a documentary we'll air for you after the show we've put together showing what happened. My guests are 5. I have Professor Chris Gordon, who is an environmental scientist. Dr. Benedict Arkhurst is from the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. Henry Korte is the former regional minister for Greater Accra. He's also held other portfolios. Honorable Gisela Agbotui Tete is the deputy minister for Works and Housing, a built environment specialist. My 5th guest is Samson Ladi Ayenini, a colleague, journalist and a lawyer, and a member of the One Ghana movement. They've been commemorating June 3. They've held memorials. In fact, earlier today, they held a memorial. And the team have also instituted a legal action hoping to get some succor for the victims. Samson, thanks for joining us. So the One Ghana movement has taken the June 3 very personally. And correct me if I'm wrong, almost every year since it happened, you guys have commemorated it in a way, right? You do it at least once a year, correct?
That's correct. In the One Ghana movement, led by Senior Hosi, we have a project, and the project is known as Justice for June 3.
Okay.
And that's the project under which Kelly Delata and John Darkon, who is now a member of parliament, began a suit in April of 2018, and which I inherited a year or two after, and we have been prosecuting that suit in the court since.
So what are you asking for? What are the reliefs?
Yes, so we are basically in the court, and we are showing the court the report of the Justice Isaac Delali Dossier Committee, the 5-member committee that was set up, which delivered its report and recommendations on the 31st of July 2015, showing very clearly that there were negligent acts that were done that caused the fire, the leakage, first of all, of the fuel that led to the fire. And so we're in the court because the victims, the report identified 154 dead and 154 victims who have suffered injuries in various degrees. They have permanent, disfigurements to their faces, to their arms, to their legs, to their torsos, to their stomachs. And I'm talking about permanent disfigurement. Some of them have become invalid. They cannot do anything. And so when we began a process to try and get some help for them, we hit a snag, because the state was not forthcoming after it had paid their medical bills and also paid for the funeral arrangements that had to be done for the 154. Fact though is that there were more than 154 that died. There were in excess of 200 that died. And after the state took up the bills for their treatment at 37 and elsewhere, as we speak today, and as they come to court to testify, 7 of them have testified so far. They talk about still attending to hospital and paying medical bills. They've literally used their life savings, and they are depending on support from family and friends because they lost their businesses as well. So we, in that suit in 2018, we did ask that an amount of about 42 million Ghana cedis should help provide some semblance of help to help them to find, life a little, as it were,
more bearable,
manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are suing the state. Is there a particular agency here? Is it which ministry, or is it who are you suing?
Right. So we sued the Ghana Oil Company Limited, that is GOIL.
Okay.
We sued the manager of the owner and manager of the particular GOIL filling station, and then the National Petroleum Authority, and then the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. We actually sued the Oko van der Poy as well at the time, but he successfully got himself out of the suit. In fact, at a point, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly got themselves out of the suit, but we went back to make some arguments that the court found just, and reinstated the Accra Metropolitan Assembly back into the suit. So for now, we have the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, we have the owner and manager of the GOIL filling station there, that is Thompson Obeng Anane, the GOIL, and the MPA. That are the defendants in the court for now.
So for the One Ghana movement, this is victim focused. Did you also extend the suit to duty bearers in terms of what they ought to have done, structural issues around implementing plans, or that's really a secondary issue? This is just to get compensation.
That's actually the major leg or a plank of the suit. That explains why entities like the AMA is there. The National Petroleum Authority is there because they have regulatory responsibilities in how these filling stations ought to be set up. If you look around the place, which is closer to city, you will see that it is not the only filling station there, but it is the only place where fuel leaked. So we are making a point in the courtroom. I'm disabled from arguing as I would argue in the courtroom on TV. But this is how far we have come, and hopefully we are looking that this session of the legal term will end without us finishing the case. But hopefully when the next legal term kicks in, we should be able to complete the case. So we are looking forward that by 2026 this matter would have been over if it is not settled.
My last question for you has to do with solutions. So every panelist will tell me what should be done. I suspect as a lawyer you would say that if your suit succeeds, then development plans should be, in your legal term, justiciable. So you should be able to say, if a duty bearer is supposed to do something structurally or spatially and doesn't do it, the court can compel them to do it. And because of the success of your case, we can start suing assemblies for negligence and lack of enforcement. Is that the kind of development insight I should take from your suit?
Exactly the point, Bernard. Now, if you look at the report by the 5-member committee led by Justice Doshe, they had as many as 21 different institutions, relevant institutions, contributing to the investigations. They had listened to as many as 21 different witnesses, and you will find that the solution to the possibility of a recurring situation is in the report. But today I look back and I ask myself, which part of the report has been implemented by the state or the local authorities? I doubt we'll see that they have actually followed it as is required. So all the various relevant bodies, we're hoping that in the end they would learn to be a lot more responsible and be aware that when you act negligently, you will pay for it.
Thank you, Samson. Let me come back to the Deputy Minister and pick solutions now. So, Honorable Gisela, you are in Parliament. Your colleague raised the issue on the floor, I think it was yesterday, as Aneto. What do you think? Give me 2 or 3 big things we should do as a country to ensure that this never happens anymore. Just give me 2 or 3 big bullet points.
Thank you, Bernard. Well, I think we should have a much better social system, a social welfare, where in case it does happen, people have some means of protection, because they didn't die. They just lost their livelihood, were disfigured, and need support, and the state should be able to give that support to them. Then the second one is there must be duty bearers must take responsibility. There's no two ways about that. You can't keep on shifting the goalposts and somebody blaming this and blaming that. Along the way, and like I said before, point by point, there are people who must take responsibility for these actions. And then I think also that the district assemblies must all validate their building permits. There must be an exercise to validate them. Those who don't have, you flag them. Those who don't, structures that don't have permits, you flag them. And if the structures are also in the wrong location, you also flag them. But in the meantime, there should be certain things that assemblies should be able to do ahead of time, which is dredging. And dredging we're talking mainly about Accra because this happened in Accra. But when you go beyond Accra to other districts, there are also similar situations and there are similar tragedies. It may not be fire. There may be other tragedies that were affected by either the indiscipline, either by poor planning, either by people building in waterways and doing their own thing, either by sanitation, just taking over the drains when it should have remained for water, So I think to put it all together, we have a long way to go and we have a lot of work to do. And I think there should also be some more education, especially during during the time of the rainy season. We as a ministry, we do acknowledge that we have to get our agencies to do a bit more education. In fact, just today, we're actually discussing our medium-term development plan, and we've brought some of all these points together because we have to look at how we're going to even actually caution the public on certain things they should do and they should not do ahead of time. So I think, in summary, we have to do something about this indiscipline. Otherwise, we're not going to make any headway.
The president set up a committee or a task force to work ahead of this year's rains. Is your ministry part of that task force?
Yes, Ministry of Works and Housing is part of the task force, represented by my minister. But you see, we tend to look at a lot of things with Accra, mainly with Accra. But let's stretch it beyond this. The task force, yes, they have gone over Accra quite a few times, and I've seen where the hotspots are. If you remember, near McCarthy Hill also, they identified some areas that were filled and all that. But I think I try to look at it. Let's look at it as a nationwide problem, and just try and solve the problem in the same nationwide manner.
Okay. Lastly, beyond the task force, usually when I interview people about special problems, they tell me there are 3 E's: engineering, education, and enforcement. How critical is your ministry in breaking the urban mess we have? Can your ministry take the lead in saying that on education and at least engineering, when it comes to siting of buildings, you are the people who will take the lead to say, we will not allow this kind of thing to continue? Is it in your power, or is it another ministry like local government? Which ministry can take the lead in implementing these things?
Well, I think it comes down to collaboration. The reason is the ministry is just one in Accra, and it has agencies under them. And these agencies, for example, Ghana Hydrological Authority, liaises with the district assemblies that have these challenges. So it can, and then they are also, district assemblies are also under Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. So I think it's more of closer collaboration between the various ministries, the key ministries, and also the assemblies that's under the Ministry of Local Government.
Thank you, Honorable Giselle Tete Abutui, who's the MP for Ewutu Senya West.
Bernard, if I just say that once again, just showing my sympathy and empathy towards all those who are affected by the June 3rd flooding. I pray that one day they find closure.
By the way, does flooding occur in your constituency, Ewutu Senya West, or the different problems?
A few places. Okay. But mainly is because of silt having over the time. Maybe there are some streams. There's one case I know. There's a stream, and over the period, silt has filled the drain. So you have to get an excavator and do some manual work to be able to remove it. But generally, we're not so bad.
All right, thank you. I'm back in studio, and I also have Mr. Enricote on. Prof, let me come to you. We're making a lot of notes. We've heard different voices, the legal people. Enricote said a lot of things, and you can tell he's hurting that some of the things that have not continued. The minister is also speaking. What are your reflections so far on what you've heard, and where do you think we should prioritize going forward?
That's a very interesting question. I'd like to start off by saying we are damn lucky that it was only 150 or 200 who perished. And what saved us was the power went out.
Okay.
Because if the power had remained, basically anybody in the water, because people were wading in water,
it could have been electrocuted.
They would have been electrocuted.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So we are lucky.
Wow.
It's only the saving grace.
So the power would have gone through the water and killed anybody?
They would have killed.
Wow.
It would have been basically like an electric chair for anybody who was in that area. So we're just lucky that the power went out.
Wow.
So, as the Deputy Minister said, our hearts go out to those people. And remember that we have something called PTSD, post-trauma stress disorder. A lot of people, even though they survived, they have issues with how they see the world. There are a lot of people who went through this, even peripherally, through a relative who passed, who are going through depression, mental anguish, which is still going on. And as Deputy Minister said, we have to give them some closure that what happened was not in vain. But again, going back to what is happening, as you said, I've been taking notes. I was part of the team which was led by Prof. Nchama Bedu, who set up the demarcation for Ramsar sites in Ghana back in the 90s.
Yeah, Nchama Bedu.
Yes.
Wow.
Who happens to be my wife.
Is it?
Anyway, but we worked together and we put down these areas which was based on keeping the wetlands secure. You can go to Densu Delta Ramsar site right now.
Yeah.
The place is flooded because of the rain. You see 4 bamboo poles in the water. It is not a fisherman. It is marking the edges of a plot.
4 bamboo poles
in the water.
That's somebody's plot.
That is somebody's plot. They come to fill during the dry season.
Serious?
To build on.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't be laughing about this.
Well, you see, if we don't change the way we behave, and that's what I got into problems, I think it was in your studio when I said that, well, you're talking about illegal mining, and I said that Ghanaians have a mental problem. Yeah.
People took that out of context.
They took it out of context. I'm not saying that Ghanaians are mad. Because Ghanaians, when they go to the US or Germany, they don't behave that way. They do not throw their rubbish in gutters. So why can they do it in your own country? But we are looking at solutions.
Yeah.
It's just been said, 21 institutions are involved.
Yeah.
There needs to be some harmonization. So you have concerted effort. We have synergy. We have to ask ourselves, what have we done different since 2015? And the answer to that is very simple. We've done nothing different.
Nothing?
Nothing.
At least we changed their name from Town and Country to Luspa. I think we've done
okay, we changed the name.
And we gave them more power.
Yeah, but you gave them power.
Yes.
Nominal power. You did not give them power, effective power. You see, when you're talking about governance, we talk about voice.
Yeah.
We talk about agency. We talk about architecture. They're all part of how you practice governance.
Yes.
And if you've given an institution voice, and all they can do is shout, hey, rain is coming, rain is coming, rain is coming, there's going to be, 5 people.
Is that all you do?
No, 5 people have died already this year.
Yes.
Last month.
Yeah.
From the flood. Why should that be? It's not as if we don't know the rain is. We know the rain is coming. We know the flood risk areas. We have a flood risk map. Are we telling the people evacuate? But you see, people don't want to evacuate because as they are evacuating, we have people who are planning to infiltrate and loot. So they don't want to leave their possessions behind. And they rather die with their chobox and trunk than go to safety. So in terms of what can we do, you mentioned it, the ease, education.
Yeah.
But that education needs to start at a very, very young age. I use this example often. You go to Singapore, if you drop something on the floor, a 5-year-old will pull your trousers and say, you dropped something. Please pick it up. Because they have been educated that they keep their city clean. You can't chew gum in Singapore. It's taken like a drug. It's not allowed in the country. Why is it that we create so much filth in this country and we do not feel that is obnoxious to us as Ghanaians. Ghanaians, we are proud people. So, first of all, education. For me, that's always the solution.
Yeah.
We've just talked about silting up of drains and river. Silt doesn't appear naturally. Silt appears when you disturb the ecosystem, so there's erosion. And that eroded material then comes up into the rivers. What is causing erosion? People have entered into the buffer zone of rivers. That buffer zone, and we have a buffer zone policy to stop this happening. So, again, going back to the issue is that we are not behaving properly. It is indiscipline. We are killing ourselves with indiscipline.
Let me take a break. I'll take closing notes from my LUSPA friend, and I'll take from Mr. Henry Korte and end with my lawyer as well. Tonight we're discussing June 3, 10 years on, and why we should never let it happen again. Stay with us.
Remember who we are singing now. At risk of prostate enlargement. We a member or her 20 ebitimi prostate cancer. 5 bitimi afamu na dia obefamu.
Actually, this is not my fault.
And to wada entina medi mani Executive Prostate Center.
Executive Prostate Center is a unique medical center where we harmonize in-depth traditional medicine with cutting-edge science and technology to cure, to treat, and to prevent diseases like prostate enlargement, prostate cancer.
Executive Prostate Center. Madame home. Facilities no any professional medical care.
Sisi a bibia clear our system no. Ye nro ne so de natural. Into we koso afama ye.
Executive Prostate Center. My cured.
You want to get polytank?
Oh, and you're fine.
Go straight.
No, I want to left, right.
And you that's right. Ghana na ye wono. So when you do more, and ye data.
Oh no!
Abe, na here. Make a polytank at all. And you just come in here by you to be able to buy you. For food to be here. Enjoy your cra.
Akuya bulambo customer.
Like they took my eyes. Go to the distributor and you give the original polytank. Polytank. We get a sound.
Polytank. Papananka Sankasa.
This is still the point of view. We are looking forward and asking how we should never allow June 3 to ever recur. Dr. Akest, do you have enough power to do what he's saying? Do you need more power as LUSPA?
Yeah, okay. As Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, the Act provides us with all the powers that we need to get through the Minister for Local Government to be able to, because we advise the Minister on land use and spatial planning issues, and even advise him on sanctions if planning authorities are not performing their functions. We can advise the Minister on what to do. Yeah, but I also want to correct the impression that there is no national spatial plan.
Okay.
There is a national spatial development framework that was prepared in 2014 and implementation started in 2015 under the Ghana Land Administration Project Phase 2.
Good.
Yes, so that plan is supposed to end 2035. So we are almost 10 years into the plan. And I don't know whether you remember, in 2016, National Development Planning Commission wanted to do a 50-year plan. Yes, so it is the National Spatial Development Framework Plan that Dr. Nimoy Thompson at the time picked as the spatial aspect of that plan. But the issue is about implementation of the plan. And when you come to Accra, we have a Greater Accra Regional Spatial Development Framework that is also supposed to end in 2037. Implementation started 2017. And it's a 20-year spatial development framework. Yeah. So the issue is about commitments, and we have strategies for flood control and management in Accra. And almost all areas in Ghana. So the issue is about implementation or strategies on how to, or the political way to implement that plan. There is a national special plan, which is called the National Special Development Framework. So I wanted to correct that.
Good.
Then in terms of the Land Use Special Planning Authority, following about flood in Accra, under the Garrett project, we realized that the Odo Basin is one of the flashpoints in terms of flood control and management in Accra. So currently, the World Bank is supporting Land Use and Special Planning Authority. We've been able to identify all the flood hotspots in Accra. And for the flood hotspots, we've also been able to put that into a map. And currently, we are doing community validation for them to validate. We have about 17 MMDAs that fall down within the Odo Basin. So based on that, they are now going to validate those flood hotspot plans that we've done. Then after that, we are supposed to come out with guidelines on flood control and management, especially within the Odo Basin. And after that, we will prepare structure plans to clearly delineate the Odo Basin, the buffers that we need to create, then also local plans to guide developments around the Odo Basin. So that is the efforts that the Land Use and Special Planning Authority is currently putting into help.
And you are doing this with the assemblies?
Yes, we are doing it with the assemblies and the Garrett
project.
Yes.
Wonderful. Let me end with Mr. Henry Quartey, and thank you so much for your patience. Give me hope, because I wasn't hopeful when I heard you. I support your work, honestly, and I've said it on air that you tried a lot. So to hear you 5 months into a new government say, look, you are not sure some of the things you did will continue. When it rains a certain level, you feel June 3 can happen again, Abolish is back. Are you that despondent, or I don't know? I mean, I don't know how to even put the question. Is it that bad? Isn't there any real hope anywhere? I mean, we see the new regional minister. We see the effort she's putting in. We've gone to the Ramsar site. You can tell she's trying to do something. Isn't there any hope anywhere at all, Mr. Quartey?
There is hope. But first of all, let me bring some clarity to this impression that there isn't a national development plan. I didn't say that. I'm saying, I asked a question. And the question meant that, yes, there is, but are we really implementing and enforcing them? So I'll bring that clarity. I'll start by talking about Ramsar sites. If the proper things are not done, for instance, we've gone to, the regional minister is doing very well. She's going to demolish buildings in the core area of the Ramsar site. I'm glad the professor is there. The original area demarcated for which the Ghana signed the Ramsar Convention covers an area of about 3,000 acres. Today, as we speak, you have only about 450 to 500 acres of land left that you can even say is Ramsar, and even that is being built in. Now the question is, when you do these demolitions, there has to be a follow-up. The follow-up means that you have to do dredging. You have to secure the area, turn it into an ecosystem. That is why I talked about planning. But anyway, you talked about solution. I think that what Accra needs now is proper re-engineering of the entire city, Greater Accra region. And I'll tell you why. If we continue to allow companies like B5 and all that to go and build at Ningo, Pram and all that, definitely you are going to have, with the greatest of respect, people come to Accra and they become Kayaye. But if you say B5, I'm giving you trade incentive, go and build your factory in, say, Sunyani or something. What are your challenges? Oh, transporting the things to Accra. We will do this and that and that and that, some tax exemptions for you. There you are creating employment there. The urban drift will not be too much as it is. So there is a need for us to look at it. Now again, re-engineering. Today as we speak, do we need timber market where it is in Accra? No, we don't. We don't. Who processes timber today in the timber market? We don't. Do we need yam sellers, Konkoba market around Abubuloshi? No. So there's a reason why I did the exercise I did. That land I reclaimed was about 78 point something acres. If you extend it to timber markets, you are looking at close to about 400 acres of land in the prime area. Now, couldn't you take the people of Timber Market to say in Sawam area, speak to the chiefs there, and then they can process lumber there so that we can use this land for something else? That is one. Now, you put interministerial committees together, trade, GRA, Western Housing, Lands Department, chieftaincy, local governments. Then they can come up with a plan and decongest Accra. Until such time that we do that, and brother, we'll be having these conversations over and over and over. It's like filling a bucket with water. When it gets to its brim, there's nothing you can do. Either you pour the water away or you find another bucket and fill it. And that is where we are. So it becomes like the law of diminishing returns. You apply a successive unit of a variable factor to a fixed factor. And what happens? Nothing. So we need to now look at how to take some of the businesses in Accra to say central region, the whole place, there's nothing happening there. To Ashanti region, small, some to the north, spread it. And this is a major something for government to look at. When I say government, it's not NDC, NPP. It has to be a national development. That's why I kept talking about that. So that there's a clear strategy of doing these things. I think that today, as we speak, we are importing this, we are doing this, we are complaining. Don't we have land so that we can move this kaya here and all these young men who are looking for jobs? There is proper farming. There are some semi-detached buildings that have been put up there. They will go and work. National service, everybody wants to be in the city because when you go to other places, the incentives are not there. So Bernard, we are not losing hope at all. But what we are saying is that political actors will have to come together and take a strong political will to say, look, this is it. And then we can see an Accra coming back. For instance, you have Abosokai. It has outlived its purpose. There are about 38,000 shops in Abosokai alone. When I was doing my exercise, I was able to arrange with the lands ministry to give us almost 6,000 to 7,000 acres of land in Afienya so that we can build a whole automobile hub, have a semblance of the Dubai type, close to everybody is going to have his or her shop. Then what you do is you decongest Abosokai strategically. So traffic is going to go to that area. This is what I'm talking about. We may have to find time and have this conversation properly.
No, we should.
Those academia on board so that we can look at Accra and develop it well. If not, all we are saying is speaking English, but practically it is not working.
But we are learning a lot, and we thank you. And I'm also enjoying your new white beard. So it looks like now that you are cooling off a bit, the white is coming. When you were working, the white was not there.
No, the thing is that I go to the barbers every 3 days. But, every 3 days, this is only 1 week. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate talking to you. Thank you.
Let me end by extending my sympathies, of course, to all the victims of the June 3rd disaster and other areas where disasters have occurred, not only in Accra, but across the country.
Wonderful.
And once again, I thank you very much for this program. But I think that you should find time, maybe good airtime, and invite people so that maybe in a town hall or something, let's have these discussions and have a plan.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
30 seconds each for studio guests to wrap up. Professor Gordon.
Okay. We look at June 3rd. It's past, but it's not past. You see, with the flood waters and the burning, all that pollution was washed out to the sea, which means that there were knock-on effects on the marine ecosystem, on our fisheries. Right now, when you get a keta school boy or anchovy, you can have up to 100 particles of microplastic in it. We are eating them as shito. So it's not just a one-off event. There are long-standing impacts of such disasters on all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me end it here and announce that right after this program, we are doing a replay of June 3rd disaster 10 years later, a Channel 1 TV documentary hosted by David Kweku Sechi, which put together sights and sounds from that very devastating event. We'd like to thank our panelist, Professor Chris Gordon, an environmental scientist, Dr. Benedict Arkhurst, Head of Plant Preparation for LUSPA, Henry Quarte, former Minister for Greater Accra, former Interior Minister, and former Deputy National Security Minister. Honorable Gisela Agbotui Tete, a Deputy Minister for Works and Housing. I think it's Tete Agbotui, forgive me, maiden name first. And of course, Samson Ladi Ayeni, my friend, lawyer, journalist of the One Ghana movement. And of course, thank you for watching. Stay safe and let's help make Ghana better again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.